Hi, how are you doing this week? When I first started doing these talks, one of the very first questions I posed was, if you were having a dinner party, who would you like to invite? Well, Elvis Presley got a few votes. Over the past week, I have shared many meals, none with Elvis sadly, but with some fabulous people nonetheless. Isn't it wonderful as we ease out of lockdown that we can start to see our family and friends once more? Last Sunday, we had a family birthday meal for Madison's 7th birthday. There were two extra special guests at that, as Alana and her boyfriend had come up from Glasgow for a few days after they were finally allowed to do so. It was so good to see them both, and over the next few days we shared many lovely meals together. Last week we also had two very different lunches with my mum. Her homemade soup is just so good and so good for you. And for one meal we had soup and sandwiches. And for the other, well, there's a Greggs in Arbroath. And we had the most yummy but probably the most unhealthy meal of vegan sausage rolls and donuts for lunch. It's just as well we don't do that too often. I saw my sister Debbie on Friday and we shared her delicious scones. On Sunday this week we shared a very special meal in church. On Monday, I caught up with a dear friend for lunch. I don't know when we last saw each other, but it had been far too long. Later this week, I'm going out with another friend to the Echtanduri for a curry. A real treat, and I'm so looking forward to it. So lots of eating, very varied meals, mostly at home, but a couple out. I do enjoy good food, but I also know how very lucky I am to have so much food to choose from, a good variety of food and food in abundance. And that's not true for everyone, so I do know how truly blessed I am. But it isn't what we ate that made those meals so special, but the company I shared them with. It was the catching up with family and friends that made these meals into special occasions. The chat around the table and being able to do that in person, that was what made them so special. Food can be very healthy or not so much. It can be an extravagant meal with hours of prep or one of my favourites, beans on toast. But it's something we do need daily. Jesus said, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." So what does Jesus mean when he says, "I am the bread of life"? Well, simply put, it means that we will be satisfied spiritually if we know Jesus, if we have Jesus in our lives. On our own, we may try to fill ourselves with many other things that ultimately can't really satisfy us. Everyone has a need to belong, to have a purpose, to be loved. Jesus says, "I am the bread of life." To live physically, we need bread or rice, potatoes or noodles, whatever our staple food is. But to live spiritually, abundantly and eternally, we need Jesus, who is indeed the bread of life and who is always ready to welcome us to his table. With Jesus in our lives, we are nourished and very well fed. Back to the special meal I shared in church. It was, of course, communion. The first communion I have shared with others in church for a very long time. We gathered in church just as Jesus gathered with his disciples. We took bread together and remembered Jesus, who came to this earth to be among us as a man. We drank wine together and remembered Jesus, who gave his life for us so that we might be forgiven for all the wrongs we do and have done. We shared this most simple meal together, affirming our faith, and shared the signs of peace. We were truly nourished together.